too.
Now, continuing the theme of application, if schools are keen to do work in this area, why should they develop an action plan? Why should they get to that level of creating an action plan? And then as part of that process, consider different external agencies or organisations that they could connect with?
I think an action plan is, it's a methodical way of working through things. And whether we realise it or not, I think we all develop action plans just in our minds sometimes. When you wake up in the morning and you think, well, what are my processes for today? What do I need to do? You're actually writing an action plan in your head. For schools, obviously there are a lot more moving parts. So thinking about how you're going to achieve those outcomes, because the reason you start a health promotion project in a school is because there's an end goal. There is something there that you want to achieve. So how you get from point A to point B, and in this case, the action plan that we have in the book has got 11 steps in it. It's broken down into small chunks, so it makes it really easy to chew and digest, for want of a better word. Because I think when you've got one person at a school that is the driver, it can seem very daunting. And having an action plan gives you the ability to say, okay, for steps 1, 2, and 3, I can do this on my own, have a meeting with the principal, get people on board. But then from steps sort of 4 through to 8, we need to engage with some other people and how we're going to do that. And I guess that's where that leads into engaging with external agencies. And Sue's spoken a lot about, the burden of teachers, and we completely understand that in, trying to teach all the STEM subjects and everything else that comes with it. Engaging with external organisations is such a benefit for them, because you are getting an expert in that field. And I think that's the most important thing. One thing that we realised when we were writing the book, we have some engaging with guest speaker guidelines, and there's the basic list of the things that you should do when you're engaging with an external agency or a speaker. When we started to write it, we were reflecting with some other people on the committee that specifically focus on sex education and drugs and alcohol and sexual responsibility and things like that. And we knew that I certainly wasn't the expert and they were, so they helped us to write almost an addendum that went onto the website. We couldn't put it in the book because it was too long. But we then, because we realised that schools needed something else to deal with these sensitive topics. So if they were going to engage with an external organisation, these are the things that you should be looking at. So that external engagement is so vital, but there needs to be some processes in place so that the people that you are engaging with from a school perspective, not that they've been vetted, but that they align with the values of your school, and they also align with even, the mission and the values of the WA Health Promoting Schools Association is really important.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear those tips there around the importance of guest speakers, but also how to quality assure and make sure that there is that connection to school intentions and it aligns with the objectives of what we're trying to achieve and leads to better outcomes for students.
Can I just add another point about that, the guidelines for guest speakers? I think teachers often think that it is maybe they are the experts. So these people are subject experts. But I would always say that the teacher is the expert in education and in their class. And even if the agency has been doing this presentation for 10 years, it is so vital, because we've heard of so many stories where things have gone really off track when teachers haven't actually sat down with the external agency and said, what are you going to present? I need to see what you're going to present. This is where my kids are at. And, that they need a conversation, because even if this agency has done this, 100 times, it is still may not be exactly what you're thinking it is going to be if you don't talk to them and ask them. And having that action plan and vetting, checking out, it's your accountability. You don't want to end up on the front page of a newspaper or a social media page when things have gone awry. And that has happened over the years in WA. So communication, collaboration, consultation are all really important elements when choosing a guest speaker.
Yeah,
as well as all the other things Amanda said.
That's great advice from both of you there. Thanks for sharing. I really like that focus on teachers knowing their students. They know them so well. They know their personalities. They know where they're up to in terms of the learning journey. They just it's a partnership, really, isn't it? When we talk about these learning opportunities in schools, and it's so important that we don't see these as box ticking exercises saying we've done this, we move on to the next step. We see it as a genuine partnership where people come together and actually have these important conversations. And at the center of that are the students. Great tips. So thank you so much there. An asset orientation is so important when we look at this sort of work in schools, and there was a focus on the importance of having trained health education teachers in schools and having health education teachers that have that background and training and understanding. Why are trained health education teachers an important resource in schools? That's my first question. And then secondly, how can they use their skills to be health advocates in their own school contexts?
Well, as we both have said before, the health of children, and which is the future generation, is everyone's business. It's all teachers, it's all parents. However, many of our aspects of health and our understandings, the information can be a very values-laden area. And as you said, Hugh, teachers are only human. We do make mistakes. We do make sometimes less healthier choices than others. So teachers can often feel that they may be judged in this area, or there may be there may be difficult questions, especially in the areas of relationships and sexuality, alcohol and other drug use, those sensitive issues that Amanda spoke about. Trained health education teachers have an understanding of how to deal respectfully, appropriately, and without what we term leaking their values to some extent, I think. So having a background in the appropriate best practice way of teaching and presenting health education is really, really valuable. They're passionate and motivated very often because it's a choice. I think particularly in primary schools, teachers have to teach everything. They have to be so-called experts, subject matter experts in all areas. But health education, as I said at the very beginning, in some schools, teachers don't want to do it. So having this training enables, I think, that they're passionate, motivated, enthusiastic teachers. It also allows them, I think, the opportunity to advocate within the staff room, within the school, within the parent community. They can then advocate because they might have some different ideas of how this could work.
That's fantastic. Good food for thought there. And across the country, we see a range of different approaches in terms of how health is taught in schools, and between primary and secondary, and even within different systems and between different states and territories as well. Like I know in my context here in Queensland, in the secondary system, we have health as part of the personal, social and community health strand of the Australian curriculum. But then we also have a dedicated subject, health, in the senior secondary school, which is very much around health promotion skills and use of the Ottawa Charter and a range of, frameworks for evaluation. And so there's a range of different ways in which health is embedded in the curriculum in schools. So it's good to hear those insights there. Now, your book includes 10 case studies which cover both primary and secondary schools. Each of these case studies includes background information, examples of activities, outcomes, highlights, challenges, lessons learnt, and tips for success and sustainability. How can schools, teachers, and other stakeholders who may be connected with schools or have the potential to connect with schools, how can they utilise these case studies for two purposes? One, to reflect on their current practices, and secondly, to as part of an approach to developing new initiatives.
I think what's important to remember about the case studies that are in the book is that they are a very small sample of what's going on in WA. And it's the one thing that we discussed a lot, is that we know that there are so many schools out there doing amazing jobs that simply don't have the time to sit down and write a case study with us. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. So there's 10 case studies in the book with an additional 3 on the website, and all are equally deserving of being in the book and are an extraordinary example of what can be done when you pull a group of people together who are passionate about something in a school. And I think for other schools to use this book, it gives them a sense of it can be done, but also, the case studies are quite honest with the barriers and the enablers as well. And I think that that's a really important learning curve for people that are starting out their health promotion journey. And that's what these case studies talk about. How did we start? How did we progress? What were the issues that we came up against, and what would we do differently? And I think that's really important, because nothing ever goes perfectly. The other thing that the case studies do is that it shows what can be done across different health settings. So they don't just focus on nutrition or sun safety. There are some case studies that talk about a whole school approach where they had a lot of health and wellbeing topics all embedded into sort of one sort of core idea, or it could be that they focused on these individual smaller programs. It also shows, I think, other schools where they can leverage and where they can get funding from, and the agencies that they can work with, because as we mentioned before, you don't know what you don't know. So to open that book and to see that you weren't even aware of these agencies existing, and that they will come and work with the school and they'll work with you, and they can help you to support what you're already doing in the classroom is amazing. And having never taught in a classroom, I can only begin to imagine how valuable something like this would be for me, to know where do I even start? So read all the case studies and think, okay, these are the opportunities open to me, and then go to your action plan and start to sort of fill that out. So we hope to continue to publish further case studies on the website as well. So it's a moving beast. Hopefully it's not another 10 or 11 years before another one of the books comes out, but Sue and I will not be writing that one. Sue will well and truly be retired.
Thanks.
But I think what the book should be showing and helping with is about how you can adapt initiatives to suit the specific needs of your own school, because there's so many examples in it.
Yeah, there are, and what I liked is that they show the process that schools have gone through to process of change, and there's good learning outcomes in terms of that journey as well. So it helps with motivation, and it helps even with ideas. Some of these ideas start as really small things, but then they grow and they continue to develop. And I think just on that too, it's important for for people listening to just not be afraid to have a go and try something, but do it in an informed way and connect with people around you as well. So that's good. Great tips there.
Hugh, can I also just say the other thing about the WA schools? And I mean, and I have no doubt that any of the people that are referenced in this book would be open to being contacted from other states and territories, because why not be proud of what you've done? And, we had all of the case study schools come to the launch. We held the launch in the Department of Education, and you could just see how proud they were to be able to tell everybody what they were doing at their school, and to get phone calls from schools, in WA to say, I read the case study, could I come and just have a chat with you? Because while I've read the case study, I'm sure that there's more that you could tell, because squeezing that into, 2 pages with photos sort of thing, or 4 pages with photos. So I think that's an opportunity too. The names of the schools are there. The people that were the instigator of the project or the program are there. So people can reach out to them. And I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, very important. I guess we can then use these case studies as a platform for further thought, further discussion, further investigation, and as you've indicated there, a good opportunity to connect with those schools and connect with others as well. So that's wonderful. Both of you have obviously invested plenty of time and effort into this particular project. Have you enjoyed? I know you've obviously enjoyed working on this book. I can sense it from the conversation today. But what have you enjoyed about working on this particular book?
We've laughed a lot, actually, Sue and I. And Sue and I knew each other before we started working on this book together through WAPSA and through both of our association with Foodcore Nutrition Services. But I think it was a labour of love. It was really hard work. And I've got to say that Sue did the lion's share of working with the schools specifically on a one-on-one basis, which is very labour intensive. But I'm just so pleased that WAPSA as an organisation has a resource out there that will, I think, stand the test of time. It's a lasting legacy for WAPSA that, we exist in WA and we do things like this that can be used by schools but also by educators. So to know that this book is used by those in the teaching curriculum at the universities, because we send it out to them as well, is to me, yes, so important. And I guess that was the joy in it for me.
And for me, having that one-on-one contact with the schools, it was inspiring and rewarding to visit those schools and see some of the fabulous, innovative work being done by these passionate educators. These are the schools that are walking the talk to some small or greater degree. If the book increases the knowledge and understanding of even a few educators about what is a health promoting school and it encourages them to try some different strategies or projects, then for me, I think the project has been successful. And again, I like Amanda's lasting legacy as well.
My lasting legacy or what's this? I'm shaking. Both. Both.
Well, yeah, thank you for your time working on this. It's a great resource. Are there any other initiatives that you're currently working on? Is there anything else that's in the pipeline or potentially future things you're working on?
So I'm still, both Sue and I are both still involved with WAPSA. I'm still on the on the committee. I stepped down from an executive role. At the moment, we are heavily promoting Healthway's Healthy Schools grants. So this is probably a nice opportunity to also thank Healthway for funding the project, because without them, this project would never have happened. And they have been incredibly supportive of everything that WAPSA does. And now to also promote the book in conjunction with the grants that they offer schools in WA is a match made in heaven, really. So when a school looks at this book and says, how can I do that? They then go to Healthway and say, could we have some additional funds to make that happen? Is extraordinary. And WAPSA generally have common activities planned for the year. So we will continue to promote health. We run health expos and things like that. So I will continue to do that. I'm also heavily involved with the Federation of Canteens in Schools, which is FOCUS, and we're holding an inaugural National School Food Summit in Hobart in May. It's a satellite event that is running the day before the Public Health Conference in Hobart, and it's an extraordinary opportunity to pull researchers and government and other health organisations together to discuss the school food landscape and how it really needs to be a whole school environment that tackles the inequity and the access of food in schools. So that's a really exciting thing for me.
And I'm supposedly retired, But I continue to advocate for health promoting schools and help schools to keep up to date with resources, as well as help them to apply for grants. I talk to parents and grandparents about how important health is in schools, and you might have guessed I talk to anybody who'll listen because I'm still very passionate about it.
It's so great to hear. Sue and Amanda, thank you so much for the insights you've shared today. Are there any sort of final comments or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Thank you so much for having both Sue and I on, Hugh. It's an extraordinary opportunity, I think, for WAPSA and for us personally to be able to share, I think, what is an extraordinary resource. I think understanding that a project like this can't be done in a silo, and we worked with so many people and, the agencies that we all work with and work for. And I think that, the old catch cry about it taking a village is incredibly true. And it takes a village to create a really healthy, supportive environment in schools. So we hope we're contributing to that in some way.
And my last comment is that a member of ACHPA about 30 years ago once said to me that health education is the only curriculum area is that potentially either now or in the future could be a matter of life and death. So it is a really important area to be involved in.
Well said.
Great comments to finish off with. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing the advice with our listeners. Very much appreciated, Sue and Amanda. So thank you so much. A special thanks to our listeners also. Hope you gained some good insights from the conversations today. I finish by encouraging you to be strong advocates for health in your own schools. Never underestimate your capacity as agents of change and the importance of the work you do and the potential impact of that work on students and the broader community. So keep health at the the front of your priority in your schools, and don't be afraid to try new initiatives, and have a good look through the book. And there's lots of great advice and tips in there. Thank you very much for your time today, and thanks for joining us.